Welcome back to the Undaunted Man podcast. I'm Mark Johnson, and I've got my co-host and brother, Geoff Laughton, here with me. Today, we're going straight at a hard truth, something that we're sure you've seen all over the internet since COVID. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Geoff, you and I have seen this cycle play out in our own lives and in the men we work with every single day. I mean, we've been around a long time. We've seen the cycles. Let's break it down and call out the danger we're in right now and show exactly what a man has to do to step out of weakness and step into real self-leadership.
Yeah, so those of you watching, we're not going to sugarcoat this. That quote that Mark just read comes from a guy named G. Michael Hopf in his 2016 book, Those Who Remain. He was writing about a collapsed world, but he absolutely nailed a pattern that's been repeating for thousands of years. It's simple, it's brutal, and it's true. Comfort makes men soft, and softness invites the hard times right back in. Right now, we're living in the good times create weak men cycle. When we look around, we see so many men struggling with, I would say, even an addiction to comfort, distractions, endless doom scrolling, no real stakes at play. Most men are drifting, and it's costing them everything. It's a key part of the loneliness epidemic with men that is all over the media, and the rising suicide rate amongst men and teenage boys that's also all over the media.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Personal weakness is not some minor character flaw. It's a silent killer. When a man stays weak, he loses his edge. He trades purpose for comfort. He trades leadership for people pleasing. He trades real strength for fake toughness on social media. You see it in the stats and in real life. More men checking out, higher rates of anxiety, depression, porn addiction, obesity, broken families. Weak men don't just suffer alone. They create chaos for everyone around them. Kids grow up without a strong father. Wives carry the emotional load. Businesses and communities lose direction, and society as a whole slides toward the next round of hard times. If you're listening and feeling that quiet voice saying that something's off, this episode is your wake-up call. We're not here to shame you or anybody. We're here to move you out of complacency and into self-leadership.
So, self-leadership. Let's talk about what that actually looks like. Because it's not some vague, be better advice. The man we're calling you and ourselves, we're living this to the fullest extent possible. And we're not perfect. Just want to make that clear. But what we're calling you to become is the modern day philosopher king. He's spiritually grounded. He returns every day to the pure I am, that silent awareness inside that's at the core of our being. Ramana Maharshi cut through everything with one relentless question. Who am I? And he would ask it over and over and over again until the ego dissolved and only the self with a capital S remained. He drew from every real tradition. The Stoics with their memento mori and amor fati, the Desert Fathers in silence, yogic tapas, Buddhist equanimity, Christian self-denial, Sufi devotion, Krishna's dharma. He doesn't chase trends. He returns to the one. He has total mastery over his own psychology. Marcus Aurelius put it pretty well and straight. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He faces his shadow, his dark side, the part of us that we all hide, repress, and deny. He kills his excuses, and he runs his mind instead of letting his mind run him. He runs his mind instead of letting his mind run him. We can't state that enough. No more victim loops. No more endless overthinking and mindfuckery, as we like to call it in our groups. No more reacting to every emotion. He chooses his response. And what's also implied in that gets horribly inconvenient is if you're going to choose your response, that means you stop pretending you have no control over your reactions. He's physically capable, forged in the body through real discipline, cold exposure, heavy lifting, and consistent training. Not for vanity, but because a weak vessel can't carry a strong mission. And here's the part that separates the men from the boys, separates the boys from the kings. He's a servant leader who is subservient to no one. He leads to serve. He leads his family, his business, and his community by serving their highest good, not by bowing to their moods or the culture's demands. He sets the standards, and he sets them within his own internal listening, not by watching Instagram. He holds the line. He protects, provides, and guides with calm, unshakable presence. Jesus said it pretty directly. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily. Krishna told Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Entitled being a key word for me in that quote. Act with discipline, without attachment. That's the way of the king. The kingdom is more important than self-interest. Now look, this isn't theory. Real men have lived it. One of our favorite examples is Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. While commanding legions on the battlefield during wars and plagues, he wrote Meditations, his private journal of psychological mastery and spiritual grounding, which is still an amazing book millennia later. He faced betrayal, loss, and constant pressure, yet he never broke. He ruled as a servant leader, putting duty to Rome above personal comfort or glory. Physically capable, mentally unbreakable, spiritually anchored in the Logos. That's the philosopher king in action, boots on the ground. Or, if you want another example, let's talk about King Solomon. Granted wisdom by God, he built the temple, wrote Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, and ruled Israel with justice and discernment. We've never used that word before. Discernment. He understood the fleeting nature of wealth and pleasure, yet he used his power to serve his people, establishing peace, trade, and order. He wasn't soft, he was sovereign, anchored in the divine, his connection to the divine, and led without being controlled by anyone. How many men do you see that can claim that right now in our time? And then there's Ashoka the Great, the Indian emperor who conquered vast lands through military might. After witnessing the horrific suffering of the Kalinga War, he underwent a total psychological transformation. He embraced Buddhism, renounced violence, and spent the rest of his reign as a servant leader, building hospitals, roads, universities, and edicts that promoted dharma, welfare, and moral order for all his people. He mastered his own mind, turned from conqueror to protector, and became one of history's greatest examples of a spiritually grounded, physically forged servant king. Now, look, these guys weren't perfect, but they embodied the full archetype: spiritual depth, psychological mastery, physical capability, and servant leadership that answers to no one but the truth. And let's be crystal clear about something that's important here, too. This is not about dominating anyone else. The real fucking work, is dominating yourself, your impulses, your excuses, your distractions. Life is not a zero-sum game, no matter what various political activists may say.
Yeah,
No one needs to lose in the game of life for you to win. When you step into this kind of sovereign self-leadership, you create more room for everyone around you to rise as well. Remember that old saying, rising tide lifts all boats? Your strength lifts your family, your team, your community. It's expansion that we're talking about here, not extraction. Mutual sovereignty, not control.
That's the vision, men. Not a perfect man, but a sovereign one. A man who has nothing left to prove and therefore nothing left to hide. He's the king in his own life. And because he's anchored in the I am, he can serve without being a doormat. The problem is most men try to get there alone and they stall out. That's where the real power of a community like ours, the Undaunted, comes in. You and I, Geoff, you and I have watched this happen in every cohort we run. When men step into a single-sex brotherhood built exactly for this, no women in the room, no performance, no softening the message, things shift fast.
Absolutely. Single set spaces are the forge. And if any of you watching are too young to remember blacksmith and the forge that they would put the metal in to shape the horseshoes and the swords, single set spaces are the forge, because in a room full of like-minded men committed to the same self-expression, self-growth, self-accountability, and those men refuse to let each other hide, you get the friction you need. No bullshit, no ass kissing, you get the friction you need. You practice stoic voluntary discomfort together. You sit in silence until the I am speaks louder than your stories. You lift heavy. You face hard truths that you'd rather not face. And you build real accountability. No mixed group workshops that I've ever been in, and Mark and I are old enough to have been in a boatload of mixed group workshops where the style gets watered down. No endless sharing circles that feel good but change nothing. Just forged men working together, forging each other together and themselves, challenging each other, witnessing each other, making actual change. Not fake change, not a little, well, this little bit will do. No, actual fucking change in their life and their ways of being, and pushing each other toward that philosopher king standard. It's the best. Changed my life enormously. And you know what, guys? History proves it works. Samurai trained in all male dojos. Monks lived in single sex monasteries. Yogis did tapas in ashrams. And indigenous cultures had men's lodges. The container matches the wiring, and the growth explodes. Let me say that one more time. If you remember nothing else, this is an enormous gold nugget for you. The container, when the container matches our wiring as men, the growth explodes.
And here's the proof. The men who join the Undaunted don't just feel motivated for a week. They build real discipline that lasts. We have lost count of the number of relationships that we've saved, the number of relationships that we've helped gracefully end, the number of careers that we've supported men in launching, the number of businesses we've supported men in launching, the numbers of addictions that have been overcome. That happens best in community, as Geoff says, that matches our wiring, matches our true nature. So in that community, we build discipline that lasts. The relationships get stronger because we show up as leaders instead of passengers. There's no passivity here. Businesses improve because they stop drifting. And everyone's spiritual life deepens because we finally have men holding us to account. This is how you break the cycle. You don't wait for hard times to force you into being strong, because they will, and it always sucks. Or you can choose to be strong now in the good times, so you can protect the good and prevent the hard times, or you'll at least be ready when they come anyway.
Yeah, so look, here's the real nitty-gritty. Everything we're talking about is incredibly important, and if there's no action taken, then we're just a couple of bloviating assholes, and you're nodding your head and going, well, this is very interesting, and nothing changes. So we have a straight up action step that you can take right now. If you're tired of the drift, your drift, if that quiet voice is getting louder when it's 11 p.m. and your family's in bed and you're still playing video games, here's something you can do today. Go to theundauntedman.com and see if our next cohort might be the right fit for you. Commit to a brotherhood that refuses to let each other hide. They won't let you hide. Show up for 90 days, minimum. Speak your commitments out loud every single day in front of men who are going to hold you accountable. Return to silence until your core awareness drowns out all the bullshit excuses that we're all fantastic at. I'm great at it. Track the real results. Your discipline, your health, your leadership at home and work. Bring another man with you. The cycle only breaks when enough of us refuse to stay weak.
We're not selling hype here. We're just offering the forge. The philosopher king inside you is waiting. He's not going to appear because the world suddenly gets easier. He appears when you choose the path of self-leadership, and the fastest way to walk that path is shoulder to shoulder with other men who are doing the same thing. The hard times are coming one way or another. Some would say we're already there. The only question is whether you'll be the strong man who creates the next round of good times or the weak man who helped bring the hard times back. Choose. Choose self-mastery over self-indulgence. Choose expansion over resentment. Choose to become the man who wins without needing anyone else to lose.
So, if our message today hit you, if you're noticing certain parts of your anatomy puckering up, send this to another man who needs to hear it. And if you're ready for the real work, theundauntedman.com is waiting.
Thanks for listening. Stay undaunted, and we'll see you next week.